Today is August 8th, my walking anniversary. 16 years ago today was a very special day, and we wrote about it in our memoir. And so I felt like it was only fitting to read about the day that started this all. So, after an eternity, we parked in the driveway, and Dad brought my wheelchair around for me. I lowered into it, paying close attention to the sensation of settling into my gel-padded seat, the slick metal bars beneath my hands. I pushed myself forward toward the house, bracing for impact as I passed over the bump of the threshold. I took note of it all, because somewhere deep inside, I knew this would be the last time I used my wheelchair. I escaped to my room and closed the door behind me. I grabbed the crutches from my closet and sat on the bed. Steadying myself with the crutches, I stood up. The girl staring back at me in my bedroom mirror was so tall that I ducked my head so as not to be whacked by the ceiling fan. I could do this. I'm ready. Forging my way across the room, I pulled the door open just a crack. "Dad," I yelled, "get the camera and tell me when it's on." "One moment, I'm coming." I heard him scrambling around the living room as he located our Panasonic video camera sitting on the counter. "Okay, we're rolling," he yelled. As I stepped forward, my bare feet pressed gently on the floor we had gotten specifically so I could get around on my office chair 3 years ago, back when we'd hoped this would just be a short-lived adventure. Turning down the hall, I limped the rest of the way to the living room, feeling immense pressure on my arms from the crutches. Mom and Dad whooped and hollered as I made my entrance. "Look at you go," Dad said as Mom disappeared into the garage. She came back pushing a big black walker I'd never seen before. "Why don't you try this?" "I'm not using that," I protested. It was cumbersome and meant for old, frail grandparents, not for me. "Okay," Mom didn't argue. "I just thought it might be easier on your arms to use this." She started to take it back to the garage. "Wait." Stuck between wanting to look cool and wanting to get rid of the crutches, I motioned for her to come back. Pulling myself up into a standing position with the walker, I realized just how valuable a device this was. It let me stand up straight instead of slumped over on the crutches. It also allowed for a more natural gait, and my armpits were thrilled with the change. The floor felt incredibly hard against my tender feet, and my right foot felt like I was stepping on a hard rock. Hannah, our beagle, ran around excitedly, caught up in the energy of the moment. "I want to try standing without the walker," I said, glancing at the camera in Dad's hands to make sure he was catching everything. Taking a deep breath in, I prepared for my very first solo stand in 3 years. Releasing my grip on the walker, I made it to the count of 2 before falling down to the floor, squealing with delight.
They just kind of fell down.
2 seconds, that's the score to beat, I announced, thrilled at this new game I'd just discovered. Pulling myself back up, I tried again. 1, 2, my legs sank further. 3, 4, down I went. Soon I could stand unaided for 30 seconds. Mom came over to pose for a picture, wrapping her arms around me, careful not to touch my shoulders. With her face so close to mine, I realized I needed to look down to see her eyes. "Who's taller, Dad?" "Well," he examined us for a moment, letting out a low laugh. "You are, Rachel." "I'm taller than she is?" I was astonished. The evening continued in a whirlwind. Within 15 minutes, I'd gone from crutches to walker to holding onto Mom's arms. As we crossed the living room, my left leg struggled to hold any weight, forcing my right foot to repeatedly slam into the ground sooner than expected to prevent me from falling. My feet hurt, but with all the excitement, the concept of shoes never crossed my mind. "I want to try walking on my own," I said, just to see. I released Mom's arm and felt only air surrounding me. As I lifted my right leg, my left one collapsed and I tumbled forward, catching myself with my hands. I squealed with each fall. It was thrilling, intoxicating. I wanted more. When I tried again, my left leg buckled under my weight, but I managed to keep my balance. My arms flailed, going every which way to keep me upright. Soon, we invited our next-door neighbors over, and I demonstrated how I could open the microwave, grab a glass from the top shelf, and how I needed to bend down to wash my hands in the sink. My audience cheered as I walked across the kitchen and placed my hand on top of the fridge just because I could. Each time I passed the doorway, I ducked my head so I wouldn't hit the frame. Dad said I didn't need to do that, but I felt so tall now that I was quite certain I did. Following him out to the garage, I stood against our measuring wall and Dad marked my new height. Over the past 3 years, I had grown 2.5 inches without even noticing. The neighbors left and our house was quiet. Exhilarated and exhausted, I realized once more just how much my feet hurt. Mom brought a bucket of ice water for me to soak my aching feet in, and we all sat down to watch the opening ceremony of the 2008 Summer Olympics taking place in Beijing, China. Mom smiled at me and whispered, "We had our own Olympic event." She said that the Olympic Committee specifically chose to open the games that day, August 8th, 2008, because 080808 was an auspicious date in China. I had known nothing of this until then, but I concurred that 080808 was indeed a lucky day.